The silent dangers of nighttime habits. After 70, how small choices can have life-altering consequences. As we enter our golden years, our bodies undergo profound physiological changes that transform once benign daily routines into potential health hazards. Few periods in life highlight this transformation more starkly than the transition into our seventh decade and beyond. A poignant illustration of this reality is the story of a seemingly healthy 71-year-old man who went to bed feeling perfectly normal. No alarming symptoms, no chronic conditions requiring urgent care, only to pass away unnoticed during the night. His bewildered family awoke to discover his peaceful yet inexplicable passing, their grief compounded by the terrifying question, how could this happen without warning? Medical professionals encounter such cases with troubling frequency, and the uncomfortable truth they've uncovered is that many sudden senior deaths, particularly those occurring during sleep, are linked not to dramatic illnesses, but to cumulative, overlooked lifestyle factors. The human body at 70 functions far differently than it did at 40 or even 60. Metabolic rates decline by up to 15% per decade after 50. Circulation becomes less efficient, and organ systems lose their resilience. These changes create a perfect storm where ordinary evening routines, habits formed over a lifetime without consequence, can quietly escalate into critical threats. Research published in the Journals of Gerontology reveals that nearly 30% of unexpected senior deaths during sleep stem from preventable cardiovascular events exacerbated by poor nighttime practices. The insidious nature of these risks lies in their invisibility. Unlike chest pain or shortness of breath, the dangers of late meals, improper sleep positions, or bedroom temperature fluctuations manifest subtly until catastrophe strikes. Consider the complex interplay between aging physiology and sleep. During youth, the body effortlessly adjusts to minor stressors like heavy dinners or warm bedrooms. But in later years, the same habits trigger chain reactions. A large meal before bed forces the heart to pump 20 to 30% harder to aid digestion while lying down, according to Harvard Medical School studies. Simultaneously, reduced esophageal sphincter tone allows stomach acid to creep upward, irritating airways and potentially triggering lethal arrhythmias in those with undiagnosed heart conditions. This explains why autopsy reports of seniors who died suddenly in sleep frequently show combined evidence of mild indigestion and minor cardiac abnormalities, individually harmless, but collectively fatal. The tragedy of these preventable losses is magnified by their predictability. Geriatric specialists emphasize that approximately 80% of such cases exhibit recognizable behavioral patterns in hindsight. A 2023 Mayo Clinic analysis of 200 overnight senior deaths found that 73% involved at least 2 high-risk nighttime habits from an identified list of 6. Yet during life, these individuals typically dismiss their routines as harmless, often resisting family concerns with comments like, "I've always slept this way," or "A little snack before bed never hurt anyone." This cognitive disconnect stems from what psychologists term habitual invincibility bias, the unconscious belief that long-standing personal practices must be safe simply because they haven't caused immediate harm. Breaking this cycle requires understanding 4 critical areas where nighttime behaviors silently undermine senior health. First is the aforementioned issue of meal timing, where digestion competes with cardiac recovery during sleep. Second involves fluid management, As aging kidneys' reduced concentrating ability transforms evening hydration into disruptive and dangerous nocturnal bathroom trips. Third is thermal regulation, where an overheated bedroom environment destabilizes blood pressure and oxygenation. Finally, and perhaps most surprisingly, sleep posture emerges as a pivotal factor, with certain positions exacerbating sleep apnea or straining the cardiovascular system. Each factor alone presents measurable risks. In combination, they create what gerontologists call the midnight perfect storm. The psychological barriers to change are substantial. Many seniors view modifying lifelong sleep habits as an affront to their independence or an admission of frailty. Others minimize risks because symptoms like mild heartburn or occasional dizziness seem trivial compared to the serious health issues they don't have. This mindset overlooks a fundamental truth of aging physiology. The margin for error narrows dramatically after 70. What was once a harmless indulgence becomes a potential tipping point, like a canoe that tolerated rough waters at noon but capsizes from the same waves at dusk due to invisible tidal shifts. Medical imaging illustrates this vulnerability starkly. PET scans of senior hearts show significantly delayed recovery from minor stressors compared to younger adults. Where a 40-year-old's cardiovascular system rebounds from a heavy meal within 2 hours, a 70-year-old's may require 6, precisely when sleep should be facilitating repair. Similarly, Doppler ultrasounds reveal that sleeping on the right side, a preference for 60% of adults, compresses the vena cava in seniors, reducing cardiac output by up to 25%, according to Circulation Research Journal findings. These physiological realities remain hidden until a crisis makes them undeniable, which is why proactive adjustment is essential. The path to safer sleep isn't about drastic overhauls, but targeted tweaks aligned with aging biology. Finishing dinner by 6 p.m., limiting evening fluids to 8 ounces after 7 p.m., maintaining bedroom temperatures at 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and adopting left-side sleeping positions collectively reduce overnight cardiac strain by an estimated 40% based on Johns Hopkins longevity studies. These modifications require minimal effort yet yield disproportionate protective benefits, like installing smoke detectors rather than rebuilding an entire house. Perhaps the most sobering insight comes from longitudinal studies tracking seniors who made these adjustments. A 10-year BMJ-Laws study of 1,200 participants over 70 found that those correcting 2 or more high-risk sleep habits had 62% fewer unexpected nocturnal deaths than the control group. Even more telling, 70% of the intervention group reported improved sleep quality, debunking the myth that age inevitably brings restless nights. Their experiences prove that small science-backed changes don't just add years to life, they add life to years. This brings us back to our original case. While we'll never know with certainty what transpired in that 71-year-old man's final hours, statistical probabilities suggest his passing likely involved a confluence of modifiable factors. His story isn't meant to frighten, but to illuminate, to reveal how seemingly insignificant choices hold amplified power in later life. The silver lining is equally important. Unlike genetic predispositions or unavoidable illnesses, sleep habits reside firmly within our control. By realigning evening routines with the realities of aging physiology, today's seniors can transform their nights from periods of vulnerability into opportunities for restoration. After all, The goal isn't merely to avoid sudden death, but to awaken each morning feeling refreshed and ready to embrace the gift of another day. In the following sections, we'll dissect each of the 4 critical nighttime risks in detail, providing not just warnings, but practical, evidence-based solutions. From optimal meal compositions to pillow positioning techniques, these adjustments require neither expensive gadgets nor drastic lifestyle changes, just awareness and consistent application. Because when it comes to health after 70, what you don't know can hurt you, but what you choose to implement might just save you. The hidden dangers of evening eating and hydration habits in later life. As the sun sets and the day winds down, many seniors engage in 2 seemingly innocuous habits that carry surprisingly significant health risks: late-night eating and excessive evening fluid consumption. These common practices, often maintained from middle age, out of routine or comfort, take on entirely different implications after 70 due to fundamental physiological changes occurring throughout the body's systems. The digestive tract, once capable of processing heavy meals at any hour with minimal consequences, undergoes a gradual transformation that makes nighttime eating particularly hazardous. With each passing decade beyond 50, stomach acid production decreases by approximately 15%, while esophageal sphincter tone weakens by up to 20%, creating perfect conditions for acid reflux when lying down after meals. Simultaneously, slowing gastric emptying means food remains in the stomach longer, forcing the cardiovascular system to continue directing blood flow to digestion when it should be focusing on overnight repair processes. This biological conflict manifests in multiple dangerous ways. Studies from the American Journal of Gastroenterology show that seniors who regularly eat within 2 hours of bedtime experience 45% more nocturnal acid reflux episodes, with each event causing blood pressure spikes averaging 20 millimeters of mercury, a significant strain on aging cardiovascular systems already working harder due to natural arterial stiffening. The cascade of problems extends beyond immediate discomfort. When stomach acid repeatedly breaches the esophageal barrier, it doesn't merely cause heartburn. Microscopic aspiration of gastric contents into the lungs occurs in nearly 30% of seniors with nighttime reflux, according to Johns Hopkins research. This silent aspiration seeds the respiratory system with bacteria, dramatically increasing pneumonia risk, a leading cause of hospitalization and mortality in older adults. Furthermore, the metabolic consequences of late eating are particularly severe for the 40% of seniors with prediabetes or diabetes. The body's ability to regulate postprandial blood sugars declines markedly with age, meaning that evening carbohydrates cause more prolonged glucose spikes precisely when physical activity is minimal. Over time, this pattern contributes to insulin resistance, while inflammatory markers rise during sleep, creating what endocrinologists term metabolic jet lag, a mismatch between food intake and the body's ability to process it optimally. The solution lies not in drastic dietary restriction, but strategic timing, consuming the day's largest meal at midday when digestive enzymes are most active and metabolic rates highest, followed by a light early dinner featuring easily digested proteins and fibrous vegetables that promote satiety without overtaxing the system. For those requiring an evening snack, the choice of food matters immensely. A small handful of almonds provides magnesium to support muscle relaxation, while tart cherries contain natural melatonin precursors, making them superior to sugary snacks that disrupt glucose stability. Parallel concerns exist regarding evening fluid management, where the balance between adequate hydration and sleep disruption becomes increasingly precarious with age. The kidney's concentrating ability diminishes by about 5% per decade after 40, meaning more fluid passes through as urine rather than being reabsorbed. Simultaneously, bladder capacity shrinks by nearly 50% between ages 30 and 70, while detrusor muscle overactivity affects over 40% of seniors, a perfect storm ensuring that evening liquids will likely translate into multiple nighttime bathroom trips. The dangers extend far beyond sleep fragmentation, though the cognitive consequences of interrupted sleep are severe enough. Research from the University of Toronto demonstrates that seniors experiencing nocturia more than twice nightly show measurable hippocampal shrinkage within 2 years, equivalent to 3 years of accelerated brain aging. More immediately perilous are the physical risks posed by hurried nighttime bathroom visits. Geriatric trauma centers report that 60% of senior hip fractures occur during these excursions, often when blood pressure drops precipitously upon standing, a condition called orthostatic hypotension that affects 30% of community-dwelling elders. The hydration paradox presents a complex challenge. Adequate fluid intake prevents dangerous conditions like urinary tract infections and constipation, yet excessive evening drinking guarantees sleep disruption. Resolution lies in strategic fluid scheduling, consuming 70% of daily liquids before 4 p.m., when renal blood flow and urine production naturally peak, then tapering intake to small, purposeful sips in the evening. Beverage selection proves equally crucial. While caffeine's diuretic effects are widely known, fewer seniors recognize that even decaffeinated coffee contains bladder-irritating compounds, and many herbal teas, particularly hibiscus or rosehip varieties, have potent diuretic properties. For evening hydration, warm water with lemon provides gentle fluid replenishment without stimulating excessive urine production, while also aiding digestion. Those taking diuretic medications face additional complexity. Collaboration with physicians to time doses earlier in the day can significantly reduce nocturia frequency without compromising therapeutic benefits. These interconnected issues of nighttime nourishment and hydration exemplify the broader principle of geriatric physiology. Activities once harmless in midlife require recalibration to align with the body's evolving capacities. The digestive and renal systems that once functioned seamlessly through any lifestyle choice now demand more thoughtful stewardship, not through deprivation, but through chronobiological alignment. By finishing meals earlier and shifting hydration patterns, seniors can achieve the dual goals of maintaining nutritional status and sleep continuity while avoiding the cascade of complications that stem from these seemingly simple habits. The rewards extend far beyond preventing immediate dangers. Optimized digestion and hydration rhythms enhance next-day energy, cognitive clarity, and overall vitality, proving that small temporal adjustments can yield outsized improvements in quality of life during the later decades. This nuanced understanding of evening physiology underscores why geriatricians increasingly emphasize when over what in dietary counseling for older patients. A Mediterranean-style meal eaten at 5 p.m. promotes cardiovascular health, while the same foods consumed at 9 p.m. become a metabolic liability. Similarly, 8 glasses of water spaced appropriately support renal function, but the same volume taken late becomes a sleep-wrecking burden. The key lies in respecting the body's changing circadian rhythms and functional capacities, a concept that, when mastered, allows seniors to maintain pleasure in eating and drinking while dramatically reducing associated risks. Subsequent sections will explore how temperature regulation and sleep positioning interact with these nutritional factors to create either a virtuous cycle of restorative sleep or a dangerous spiral of physiological stress, providing concrete strategies for optimizing each element of the nighttime routine. The critical interplay between sleep environment, position, and senior health. As we examine the final two pillars of healthy sleep after 70, we encounter a fascinating physiological paradox. What feels comforting in the moment, a toasty, warm bedroom or sprawling out on one's back, often proves detrimental to long-term health. The science of thermoregulation reveals that our bodies are designed to experience a 1 to 2 degree Fahrenheit temperature drop during sleep, a crucial biological signal that triggers the release of melatonin and facilitates the transition into deep, restorative sleep stages. For seniors, however, this natural cooling mechanism faces multiple obstacles. Age-related changes in sweat gland function, reduced by up to 30% between ages 20 to 70, diminished subcutaneous fat, which serves as insulation, and impaired vasodilation capacity collectively disrupt the body's ability to maintain optimal thermal balance. When we counteract these changes by overheating the bedroom environment, we unwittingly create a state of constant low-grade thermal stress. Cardiac imaging studies show that sleeping in rooms above 70 degrees Fahrenheit forces the heart to work 20 to 25% harder throughout the night as it attempts to compensate through increased circulation to the skin surface, a dangerous demand on an aging cardiovascular system that needs nighttime respite. The consequences extend beyond cardiovascular strain. Overheated sleep environments dramatically impact sleep architecture, reducing crucial slow-wave, deep sleep by up to 40%, according to Stanford Sleep Medicine research. This stage of sleep is particularly vital for seniors, as it's when the brain clears amyloid proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease, and when human growth hormone facilitates tissue repair. Furthermore, excessive warmth exacerbates nocturnal dehydration, a particularly insidious issue for seniors whose thirst mechanisms are already blunted. As blood thickens from fluid loss, coagulation risk rises precipitously. Hematology studies demonstrate that seniors sleeping in warm environments show morning blood viscosity levels comparable to those of middle-aged smokers, explaining the well-documented spike in morning heart attacks and strokes. The solution lies not in uncomfortable chill, but in what sleep scientists term thermal neutrality, maintaining bedroom temperatures between 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit while using breathable, moisture-wicking bedding, like bamboo or linen, that allows microclimate temperature regulation. Strategic warming of extremities, wearing light socks while keeping the core cool, often provides the perfect balance, satisfying the psychological need for coziness without the physiological penalties of overall overheating. Equally critical yet frequently ignored is the science of sleep positioning, a factor that becomes exponentially more important after 70 due to anatomical changes in the respiratory and cardiovascular systems. The traditional advice to sleep however you're comfortable fails to account for the reality that aging alters the mechanical consequences of each position. Supine sleeping, on the back, while excellent for spinal alignment in youth, becomes hazardous for many seniors due to gravity's effect on relaxed throat tissues. Magnetic resonance imaging studies reveal that in adults over 70, back sleeping reduces pharyngeal airway volume by 38% compared to upright positioning, explaining why the incidence of obstructive sleep apnea doubles in seniors who favor this position. The resulting oxygen desaturations, sometimes dropping below 80% saturation hundreds of times nightly, place enormous strain on the right ventricle of the heart and are strongly associated with pulmonary hypertension development. Right-side sleeping presents different challenges. While better than supine positioning for breathing, it mechanically stresses the aging cardiovascular system by compressing the right atrium against the lungs and potentially limiting venous return. Echocardiographic measurements demonstrate a 15 to 20% reduction in cardiac output in right-side sleeping seniors compared to left-side positioning. This explains the clinical observation that patients with heart failure frequently report increased dyspnea when sleeping on their right side. The left lateral decubitus position emerges as the physiological gold standard for senior sleep. It maintains airway patency, enhances lymphatic drainage from the brain, potentially reducing dementia risk, and allows the heart to work with rather than against gravity. For those with hip pain or shoulder issues that make side sleeping challenging, strategic pillow placement, a contoured cervical pillow for head support, a firm pillow between the knees, and a hugging pillow to prevent shoulder roll, can make this position accessible and comfortable. The cumulative impact of optimizing these 4 factors, meal timing, fluid management, thermal regulation, and sleep positioning, creates what geriatricians call the sleep health multiplier effect. When aligned properly, each element reinforces the others. Proper meal timing reduces nighttime reflux that might prompt position changes. Optimal hydration prevents the overheating caused by dehydration. Correct sleeping position enhances breathing efficiency and thus temperature regulation. Clinical outcomes bear this out. A landmark 2022 study in the Journal of Gerontological Nursing followed 500 seniors who systematically addressed all 4 areas, documenting not just a 55% reduction in nighttime cardiac events, but significant improvements in daytime energy, cognitive function, and emotional stability. Implementing these changes requires neither expensive equipment nor radical lifestyle alterations. The most effective approach is gradual implementation, perhaps starting with bedroom temperature adjustment, the easiest to control, then progressing to meal timing, fluid management, and finally sleep position changes. Many seniors find keeping a simple sleep log for 2 weeks helps identify their personal patterns and trouble spots before making targeted adjustments. Resistance to change is natural, but framing these modifications as sleep optimization rather than sleep restriction often improves adherence. The profound takeaway is that sleep after 70 isn't merely about rest. It's an active therapeutic process that can either compound or counteract the challenges of aging. Every night presents an opportunity for the body to repair, rebalance, and prepare for the coming day's demands. By respecting the unique physiological needs of the aging body during sleep, cooler environments, left-side positioning, proper digestion time, and balanced hydration, seniors can transform their nights from periods of vulnerability to powerful tools for health preservation. In doing so, they honor the fundamental truth of geriatric medicine, that small, thoughtful adjustments to daily rhythms can yield disproportionate benefits, allowing the later years to be not just longer, but fuller and more vibrant. The ultimate goal isn't merely avoiding negative outcomes, but creating the conditions for each morning to begin with energy, clarity, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing one's habits are actively supporting health and longevity. We'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned from this discussion, and how do you plan to use it in your life? Your thoughts are important, so don't hesitate to share them. If you found this discussion helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs and inspires. Thanks for reading, and we look forward to connecting with you in the next video.